Welcome to Atlanta's Commercial Real Estate Show, brought to you by Bull Realty, the show for property owners and business leaders. Host Michael Bull brings you market analysis, advice, and opportunities around Atlanta.
Thanks for being with us. We have a great show for you today. My guest is Jim Durrett. Jim is Executive Director with the Buckhead Community District. And Jim, thanks for joining us here in Studio One.
Happy to be here with you.
And I heard a presentation you did on the Buckhead Park, and I guess you guys haven't named this, right?
Correct.
But I want the people in Atlanta and maybe some people not in Atlanta to understand what you guys have going on here. So tell us about this park over Georgia 400 in the Buckhead area.
Sure thing. When I first came to the CID, the Community Improvement District, 7 years ago, Charlie Ackerman with Ackerman Companies was on the board. And one of the things he said to me at the time was, what we're really missing here in the Buckhead Commercial Core is a gathering place. Yeah. And that's been in the back of my mind, and we've been thinking about it for a while. We just sort of said, yeah, but that's kind of a pipe dream. That's a big one to swallow, and we spend most of our time focusing on roads and streets and streetscapes and improving the multimodal accessibility within the district. But the more we've been thinking about where cities are going and need to go in the future, the more we started taking finding a place to create a gathering place, which a park is, seriously. So in 2005, we asked Jacobs to take a look and determine, is there a fatal flaw in the idea of putting a park on top of Georgia 400?
Now, who's Jacobs?
Jacobs is an international architecture and engineering consulting firm. Okay. So they took a look at putting a park on top of Georgia 400 and the Buckhead MARTA station between Lenox Road and Peachtree, two major corridors within the district, and said this could be done, and they gave us an idea of what it might look like. And my board took a look at that and said, this is intriguing. Maybe we should look into this a little bit more. So in 2016, we entertained proposals from teams who wanted to take a much deeper look at what could be right there. And we selected a firm headed up, or a team headed up by Rogers Partners in New York City. And they put a terrific team together, and we are about 2/3 of the way through a deep examination of this opportunity. It's important because Buckhead, the business district of Buckhead, is lacking that gathering place.
Right.
And more commercial development is coming out of the ground, vertical neighborhoods.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, Midtown has Piedmont Park. You have Chastain Park near where I live, and in Buckhead there's really no big park. So what is the anticipated size of this park?
It would be a little less than 10 acres if we could ultimately achieve everything that we're trying to achieve. And it would be a linear park. It wouldn't be a deck park like Clyde Warren is in Dallas. It would cover most of Georgia 400, but it would be a more interesting park in terms of its form and how it would function.
Yeah, and if you're driving down the road in your car and you're listening to this, once you land in your home or office, visit the Commercial Real Estate Show website, creshow.com, and click the Atlanta button, and you'll see some images of this park. It looks like it's going to be pretty interesting, but it is elevated, right? It is elevated.
Yeah. The blessing and the curse of having Georgia 400 come right through the commercial core of Buckhead is it's a great transportation corridor for commuters, but it divided the community. And so connectivity across Georgia 400 has been problematic. That's the curse of it. The blessing is that it precluded development on top of it. And we are now taking advantage of that opportunity because if you can imagine it, if you can design it, and you can fund it, you can create real estate where none exists right now.
So it's in the air rights, and who owns those air rights?
It's a combination of MARTA and Georgia Department of Transportation and some private owners.
Okay. And how much is this going to cost?
Well, the estimate right now, and this is still in concept, we haven't gone full bore into design and the complete engineering to get to construction specifications. The estimate right now is that it could cost up to $250 million to construct. And that's for the structure as well as all of the park that would be placed on top of the structure. And the operating and maintenance cost should be around $2 million, maybe a little bit less than $2 million per year.
Okay. So to be, I hate to use this word, but bridge, it'll be a bridge that'll over 400. We don't want to use the word bridge. Right?
Not in Atlanta right now, yes.
All right, so it'll be built on a bridge. Well, we're going to take a short break, and we'll get back and talk to Jim more about this, because I think it's going to be interesting to see who it impacts and what the benefits are to the people who live and work and play and invest around Atlanta and then around Buckhead, because as we mentioned before, a lot of neighborhoods have great parks, and there's not really a big gathering. What is it? The malls maybe is kind of a gathering spot.
That's right.
But now maybe we'll have a park. So stay with us. I'm Michael Bull. This is Atlanta's Commercial Real Estate Show. Stay with us. The Commercial Real Estate Show is brought to you in part by your friends at Bull Realty. When your business requires proven performance, visit bullrealty.com or call 800-408-BULL. Welcome back. Today we're talking about a proposed park in Buckhead with Jim Durrett. He's Executive Director of the Buckhead Community District. And Jim, the impact from something like this could be big. What is the timing that you would expect right now, and what about the impact?
Well, in terms of timing, we are in July of this year going to wrap up the development of the concept. And at that point, we're going to have a much better understanding about what the cost ought to be, what the management structure and operation structure ought to be, because we're going to be creating a city park. But the idea is that a nonprofit of some kind will be responsible for operating and maintaining the park, to relieve the city of the burden of having to deal with that when somebody has created a park that they have not been planning for.
Right.
And so in July we'll understand that. We'll also understand what the funding strategy is, because this has got to be, this is the quintessential public-private partnership that everybody talks about these days. And everything from different levels of government to the real estate, the community improvement district, what it should be contributing to this, what the philanthropic community would be comfortable doing, and how all that would be layered together. So July we'll know that. Then we estimate that it'll be up to about 3 years of getting ready to go, meaning the permitting, the hard engineering, putting together the nonprofit that would do this, identifying the champions that would work on attracting additional investment to it. And then after those 3 years, you'd have a probably 2 to 3 year period of constructing the whole park.
Okay.
So we're looking at maybe 6 years out when we could see a fully completed park.
And what will we see, Jim? What would be the look and feel of this park?
Well, for those who can access the video,
Right.
you will see images of it,
Yeah.
and I'll try to describe that for your radio audience. It's going to be a linear park that actually bridges over Lenox Road on the north end and brings people into the park and separates pedestrian and bicycle traffic from the automobile traffic, which is pretty intense on Lenox Road and Georgia 400. And then you would meander through a park that is going to be sinuous and have wide parts and narrow parts. It will have 3 distinct areas where people can gather in large numbers. And then when you get down to Peachtree, it will bridge over Peachtree and take advantage of the open area in front of the Atlanta Financial Center, which is currently just a hole looking down on Georgia 400 and the MARTA train tracks down there. So it would be linear, it would bridge all of those open areas, and it would be interesting because it's not just going to be a rectangle sitting on top of a highway.
Right. And are there green spaces involved? Obviously, it's a park, but you think of elevated, you think of concrete.
Well, and because we're sitting on top of the MARTA train tracks down below, we've got supportive infrastructure associated with MARTA's investment down there. And that will support the opportunity to put substantial root material, root balls, soil, so that it will hold big trees. So we're really lucky in that regard. The design is such that at the north end of the park, that will be a natural area where you'll see grass and trees and places to sit, kind of an amphitheater setting that works for large groups of people and smaller, more intimate groups of people. In the center, it's going to be more hardscape, and that's where the pedestrian bridge comes across Georgia 400 right now and has the entrance into the MARTA station. That will be hardscaped and will be, the way I look at it, is the community living room where you could come and lots of people could gather. It would take a lot of foot traffic. You could have tents and carts and festivals and that sort of thing. Maybe watch a big screen production of a sporting event, something like that, or movies at night. And then toward Peachtree, that's where it'll be more of a lush garden experience. And we're talking with Atlanta Botanical Gardens about perhaps having this be an annex or in some way associated with the Atlanta Botanical Gardens. So you've got different experiences that will pull you from one to the other because you want to see what the whole park has to offer.
And it does sound like a park. Sounds like there's going to be a lot of places for activities, events, and a lot of greenery.
That's exactly what the goal is and what we would achieve.
Yeah, and we really need it. Well, we're going to take a short break. When we get back, I want to ask you about the challenges. I mean, what are some of the challenges you have, and what are the chances that this happens or doesn't happen? And then I want to ask you some more about the activities and events that people might get to enjoy who work and live around Buckhead. I mean, this seems like that there's more dense all the time, right, in Buckhead.
Right.
There's more people moving in, there's more people working every day, and I don't think that's going to stop, right? And if there is some green, if there is a park, maybe it attracts the right type of businesses, the right type of people, and continues to grow and be what we love about Buckhead, the trees, the canopy, and everything else. So we'll stay with us, take a short break. We'll have that coming up for you next. I'm Michael Bull. This is Atlanta's Commercial Real Estate Show. The Commercial Real Estate Show is brought to you in part by your friends at Bull Realty. When your business requires proven performance, visit bullrealty.com or call 800-408-BULL. Welcome back. I'm Michael Bull. I'm here with Jim Durrett, Buckhead Community District Executive Director. We're talking about a proposed park in Buckhead that could really transform the area. And Jim, what are the chances this happens or doesn't happen?
Well, you've always got challenges for a big, hairy, audacious goal such as this one. The first challenge that everybody brings up is, how in the world are you going to pay for this?
Yeah.
So that's one challenge that we're working on solving. Second challenge is, how are you going to build something this substantial on top of an active freeway and an active transit corridor?
People are more concerned now.
That's true. That's true. And so it's in, how are you going to find the partners who are going to be willing to invest in it? How are you going to build it so that it doesn't disrupt unnecessarily the flow of traffic for people who are commuting through and to and from Buckhead? And then finally, how are you going to put together the right kind of organization that's going to be able to be responsible with operating and maintaining this park so that the public is really going to want to come and enjoy it? So those are the challenges, but we think we've got a pretty good roadmap to solve those problems. And
what are the Vegas odds on it happening if you had to guess?
I think it's such a good idea that it's going to happen. The question is, how hard are we going to need to work in order to convince others that they should invest in this good idea?
Yeah. Well, let's talk about some of the activities, because the gathering place is all about the activities, right?
You can't just build a park and say, okay,
go hang out.
We're done. Enjoy.
That's right.
Well, one thing that I'd like to start with, because I don't know if I've mentioned it yet, there is a fantastic multi-use trail that we and Livable Buckhead and the Path Foundation have been working on for a few years now, called Path 400. We've taken advantage of the right-of-way that exists for the Georgia 400 corridor that's not utilized right now for moving cars, because you've got extra right-of-way on the sides. And we've been building a multi-use trail that people can use to get around on foot or on bicycles or rollerblades or pushing a carriage for a few years now. And it is going to connect the northern part of Buckhead all the way to the Atlanta Beltline eventually. And we would be able to pull Path 400 straight through that park and make it a really, really terrific, interesting experience.
How much of that's open now?
There's close to 3 miles that are constructed right now out of the approximately 5.5 miles that the team initially envisioned. But Sandy Springs is now interested in taking Path 400 north.
Nice.
And connecting Sandy Springs to Atlanta, and then perhaps even further north than that. So
Good.
That's one activity. Second is we've asked the community, what do you want?
Yeah.
And people say, we want to come to events, and we'd like to have an opportunity to dine in the park. Okay. And so we are looking at how we can create commercial operations that support the park and give people the opportunity for that kind of activity. Group gatherings of yoga, exercises, that sort of thing, making sure that there are play opportunities for families with children. Movie nights, music, exactly. So all of those kinds of things are planned for this, and coming up with the right mix in the right quantities so that we're not over-programming the park or under-programming the park is an important part of what we're looking at in the concept development right now.
Okay. And where's some information that people can get more information?
Well, they can go to the Buckhead Community Improvement District website, buckheadcid.com.
Okay.
And we will continue to put the presentations that have been made to the public about what this opportunity is all about. So that will be the best place for people to go.
And if someone's excited about it and thinks it's a great thing, how can they help?
Well, when the time comes to open your wallet or your checkbook, we're hoping that we'll have lots of people saying, hey, this is good, and we should support this financially. Not necessarily by writing a check themselves, but perhaps encouraging local government, state government, that this is an investment worth making.
And will there be a sponsor opportunity for SunTrust or Mercedes or somebody?
Well, we are looking at that.
Okay.
We don't want to overdo it. It's not going to be a NASCAR vehicle.
Right.
And it is a City of Atlanta park, and there are things that you can do and can't do today. But I'm hoping that people realize that that it's such a good idea, but it's going to be so difficult to fund in the traditional way that we'll have some flexibility, and I think it's going to end up being terrific exposure for anybody.
Great stuff, Jim. Thanks for joining us, and thanks for joining us out there. Thanks to our presenting sponsor, Bull Realty, and to all of our sponsors linked below. For more Atlanta forecasts, advice, and opportunities, subscribe on YouTube, iTunes, Google Play, and AtlantaCommercialRealEstateShow.com. And be sure to connect, comment, and share on your favorite social media sites.